Good morning, Primary 6. Good to see you all. Just having a look on the stream. We've already got 10 viewers. Hamish, you were first up this morning. Karuna, you're here as well. We've got Isa. We've got Eva. We've got Callie. Good to see you all, guys. And I'm sure we've got many more on the way. Marco, good to see you, pal. And Aisha as well. Excellent to see you all here. I'm sure we will have more joining us shortly. Now, we have potentially quite a long live stream today. I'm sorry about that, but there is just so much to go through, and I really want to try and get lots and lots of stuff done as quickly as possible. But I'm kind of talking to myself a wee bit here and thinking, you know what, I should try and push some of it back a wee bit, and we'll maybe do some of it on Friday's live stream. But there are some important things for us to go through. We're going to talk a little bit about reading from this week and last week as well. So last week you did Macbeth. This week we are in the process of doing Romeo and Juliet. We're going to talk a little bit about both of those texts. We're going to talk about persuasive writing, and I've got something to hook your interest a little bit. A little delivery that I got recently here. I've had a wee look at it already, and this should be interesting, tying into today's persuasive writing. Helps if I can get my words out. We're going to go over maths, because your maths today is to do with line graphs, which is a really, really important aspect of maths, an aspect of statistics that's really good to get your head around. And we have a big announcement as well. You're not going back to school. So don't get too excited. But it's something that we're going to announce, and I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait till the numbers hopefully get over 30 before I actually announce it. But something to hopefully make your lives a little bit more enjoyable in terms of your social life over this this lockdown period. So we're currently up at 24 viewers, which is great. Usually we top out at about 36, 37. So I'm going to hope that we get over 30. And if we get over 30, then I will make the big announcement. However, we've just gone down to 23, which that's going the wrong direction. Anyway, in the meantime, before I make this big announcement, couple of things quickly. First of all, our word of the week. Word of the week this week is vociferous, and that links into persuasive writing. So if you're vociferous, you are arguing things in a very strong, very passionate sort of way. So that is the word vociferous. And we talked about the fact that you could chunk up into two parts. You have the voci part, the VOCI part, which is to do with speaking, vocal stuff. And then you've got theros, which is probably derived from the old word for iron as well. So it's like using iron words or steel words, being really, really strong in the way you're saying things. Two other quick reminders. Reminder one, we've got Wolf Brother. We're hopefully starting that next week. Now, I know some people are buying hard copies, which is great if you can do that. And if you feel like that will help you, by all means do it. We only have a very limited number of hard copies that we might be able to sign out to people in school. I certainly can't promise you that you're going to get a hard copy from the school. So if you want to just go ahead and buy one and you're able to do that, then that's fine. However, I am posting an audiobook version of it and an ebook version of it, so no one's going to be left behind. You'll all have a copy in one way or another. And the other big reminder is that today, depending on how long I rabbit on for, I should be meeting two groups. So it's Parvana's Journey group and the Windscape group at 10:40 and 11 o'clock respectively. However, if this live stream goes on too long, I might push you to the later slot, so it might be 11 and 11:20. I'll let you know by the end of this live stream. How are our numbers looking? We are at 30 people, so fair is fair. What we've decided, so the three of us in P6 were talking, so Miss Lindsay, Mrs. Ireland, and I, we were all talking about it, and we've decided that what we want to do is create a sort of social area for you guys. So the equivalent of the playground. So we're going to create a new channel on each of our teams. We're not going to create one big P6 one. I think that would just be too hard to manage. But we're going to have a separate channel in the P6 area, in each of our P6 areas, and you'll be able to basically socialize with your friends a little bit more. Okay, so it's a chance, it's a place for you guys. Oh, I'm just noticing that, in fact, there is a comment just coming up on my feed about it just now. Yeah, too late, mate. Fair enough. So yeah, that is something that we're looking at doing, and that's our plan. So we're not going to, it will probably come out later today, or if not, tomorrow. And Mr. Hogg is going to be kind of in charge of making sure that runs sensibly. So basically, whatever Mr. Hogg says goes. Now, I will be there as well, making sure that you guys are being, well, all of your teachers are going to be there. We are able to see everything that goes on in there, basically. It's as simple as that. But Mr. Hogg is going to also be overseeing that with us. So you know all the rules. Just don't be daft. No bullying anyone. Only say stuff that you would be willing to say to someone else's face. Yeah, I think it's a great opportunity for you guys to socialize a wee bit more, and hopefully you'll get the chance to enjoy each other's company a little bit more. So Lucy, who's just joined, I was just saying that this is going to be a social area. It will be posted on each of the P6 teams as a separate channel. So it'll just be an opportunity for you guys to chat a wee bit more. So that was the big announcement there. Okay, excellent. Right, guys, on to the actual content of today. Now, at my end, it looks like I keep buffering. I don't know if I don't know if that's a problem at your end. I don't know if I appear really glitchy and if I keep stopping, or whether it's quite smooth for you. So let me know in the chat feed if I keep getting glitchy. Not that I can do anything about it. There's nothing I can do. It's just good for me to know if you're having trouble hearing what I'm saying or anything. Right. So part one, reading. We're going to talk a little bit about reading, and I'm going to try and make this quite brief. But you've read 2 short books over the last while. We read Macbeth last week, and this week we've read Romeo and Juliet. And I'm going to talk about a couple of literary techniques that authors use to make their work really, really effective. So one is what's called character development. And I really should have mentioned this when we were doing Macbeth last week. I don't know why it slipped my mind. I should have really even done questions on it and stuff. Character development is basically to do with characters changing over the course of a novel. So when we look at Macbeth at the start of the novel, what's his character like? Even type a couple of words in the comments. But in terms of his personality, what is he like at the start of Macbeth as a character, as a person? See if you can throw in just a couple of adjectives to tell me what is Macbeth like as a character. I'm hoping that I know you haven't read all of Romeo and Juliet, Audrey. Don't worry about that, pal. At the moment, just talking about Macbeth, and I'm not going to spoil anything about Romeo and Juliet for you. We're just going to talk a little bit about part of it. So, Zach, he's gone for brave. I suppose there's an argument to be made for him being a bit childish, Nathaniel, in a way. I'm not sure I'd completely agree with that one. But he's supposed to be brave. Egotistical. I quite like that one in a way. Yeah, he's he is a bit full of himself. He's imagining himself being king and that sort of thing. But overall, he is a bit more honourable. Honourable is kind of the word that comes to my mind. When his wife first starts talking about wanting to kill King Duncan, his immediate response is, "No, we're not doing that. No, that's my king. There's no way we are." We're killing the king. However, by the end of the novel, he's become a very different person, an entirely different person. He has developed as a character. So good stories will show an awful lot of character development. Now, not all stories show Thank you, Aisha. You've pointed out that the date is wrong on this, and you're right. Today is not the 11th, it's the 13th. But not all stories show a great deal of character development, but a lot of very good stories will show character development. They might show a character going from being a very timorous, anxious character to one who discovers themselves and becomes brave and courageous. You might have a courageous, honourable character becoming somewhat villainous and corrupt, which is what we see in Macbeth. So look for examples of character development while you're reading. There's certainly lots of examples of character development in a lot of novels. Now, I would say that in the case of Romeo and Juliet, character development isn't something that we really see. We don't see character development as much in Romeo and Juliet. However, there are some other pretty awesome things that are done in Romeo and Juliet, or the version that we're reading at least. So one of those things is the use of imagery and symbolism, and also a little bit of something called juxtaposition. Now, if you're in my class, you'll know a lot about juxtaposition. We've talked a lot about juxtaposition in the past, but not everyone will have heard about juxtaposition. Freya, can you stop posting so much in the chat, please? Thank you. Right. So, we've got imagery, first of all. So at the start of the book, at the start of Romeo and Juliet, what we've got is the imagery, the scene that it's based in, reflecting the way both the characters are feeling. So we've got we've got it being sort of sunny and bright and rainbows being cast from the chandeliers and all this stuff. It makes the environment sound very inviting, sound very friendly, sound conducive to love, if you like. So that's what we hear about at the start of Romeo and Juliet. And that imagery, what we call imagery there, it's symbolic of the way the happy couple are feeling. The fact that we have all this happiness, all this lovely imagery, that's symbolic of the fact that in their minds they're also feeling happy. They notice all the happy stuff. You'll find that when you're in a good mood, you're like, oh yeah, look at the sun, that's just amazing, and oh, there's rainbows, and oh, a double rainbow all the way across the sky. That's an old 2008 meme for you there, guys, that you guys probably won't even get. But when you're happy, you notice happy things, and that's why the author wrote it in that way. However, what we then get, just a page later, is we get it suddenly contrasted, or what we call juxtaposed, against Romeo Juliet's cousin, Tybalt. So we have this juxtaposition of the very happy couple, sort of feeling all loved up and wonderful, and oh, isn't the world just a magical place? And then this dark, brooding anger of Tybalt, who's noticed one of his enemies come in and dance with his cousin. So that's called juxtaposition. We have the light and we have the dark. We have the happiness and we have the anger or the rage. So what the author has done is juxtaposed Romeo and Juliet's love with Tybalt's hate, which I think is very, very clever. Now, you'll see more juxtaposition later on. But there's also a little bit more imagery. So when you read the rest of the book tomorrow, I'm not going to give too much away, but later, right at the end of the book, where maybe their feelings have changed. Their feelings might have changed. They might be feeling maybe, so they were feeling very happy at the start. By the end of it, they're maybe not feeling the same sort of way. Look for ways that the scene, that the place that they are in, reflects the way their emotions are. Okay, that's my clue to you. So how does the scenery reflect their emotions at the end of the book? All right, so there's my there's my wee thing for you to look out for. So look out ways that imagery can be used to symbolize someone's feelings. So you've learned 3 things there. This is a 3-for-1 lesson here. We've learned about character development in Macbeth, characters changing from one type of mindset to another type of mindset over the course of their journey. We've learned about juxtaposition, the use of happy things right next to sad things, or love next to hate, or light next to dark. All of these things are juxtaposition. And we've also learned about imagery, how the way the scene is described can also reflect the way a character is feeling. And Rosalind's saying that you've accidentally read the whole book. Don't worry about it, pal. Just means you're ahead of the game. But you probably know then what I'm talking about this imagery at the end of the book. You know what happens, but also where are they, and how does that reflect the way they're the way they're feeling in that part of the story. Something to think about. And I don't know if you spotted it at the time, but hopefully I've now made it a little bit clearer. You'll be going, oh yeah, they were there, and they were also feeling like this, and oh, that makes sense. Okay. Anyway, guys, right. So that's our reading. Next, to persuasive writing. So, you're going to be doing a little bit more persuasive writing today. And what you're coming up with, you'll need to go and watch my video on it. It's really important that after this, you watch the video on persuasive writing. It's about 7 minutes long, but it tells you exactly what today's task is. But what I wanted to talk about was some of the topics that I had you writing about on Monday's persuasive writing thing. So all you had to do was basically smash in a sentence opener to each one of the topics. But I deliberately wrote the topics to be a little bit provocative, a little bit thought-provoking, and hopefully some of you might have even discussed some of them with your parents at home, because that was what I was really hoping to happen. So we've got things like homework. So I think I can't remember what way I said it. That homework was a good thing, I think I said in this one. There was one that said that aliens almost certainly don't exist. That's not even something that I actually agree with, but I thought I'd put it in just to be a bit provocative and sort of see, well, what do you guys think about that? There was one about whether we should tax sugar, or whether people should be allowed to say ideas even if they're offensive. Should cyclists have to pass a test to go on the road? Were there any things that you saw in there that either you thought, yeah, that's a brilliant idea, or any that you thought, no, I absolutely disagree with that? What are your thoughts? Give me a wee post in the comments. What ones did you strongly agree with or strongly disagree with? You could just write something as simple as disagree with homework, or agree with there's no aliens, or disagree with there's no aliens. So Rosalind's saying aliens. What one do you? What way do you think? Do you think there are aliens somewhere else in the universe, or did you agree with the one on there saying that there's probably no aliens anywhere else? We've got Audrey saying it depends what you mean by aliens. Zach saying that he disagrees with aliens. That's interesting. Okay. Personally, now this is an opinion, and I can't back this up with any data, but I think that it is highly likely that there is life on other planets somewhere in the universe. When we bear in mind that there are 100 billion stars just in our galaxy, and there's also 100 billion galaxies around the universe, each one with hundreds of billions of stars, I think that it's probably almost a certainty that there's aliens somewhere else. Now, does that mean aliens like little green men flying around in spaceships? No, I don't think people are there's alien life visiting Earth. I don't think that there's all these people that go on about UFOs. Personally, I think they're a bit nuts. In fact, I think they're a whole lot of nuts. This is an opinion now, by the way, and I'm not I'm not wanting to offend anyone, although I've just called you nuts. So sorry if you're one of those people. But surely there's other places in the universe where life has evolved. Could be microbes. Could it not be more complex than microbes? What's special about our Earth that would make it the only place that that has life. I think that would be, yeah, pretty unlikely. Anyway, we could go down the rabbit hole with that one. We've got Nathaniel saying that he disagrees with the cycling test one. That's interesting. So, I mean, I guess as a kid, you're allowed to cycle and encouraged to cycle. So, yeah, why should we put a test in place? But by the same token, cyclists are involved in a lot of accidents, and if they're not tested to see if they're going to be safe on the road, then how do we know that? How do we know that they're going to be following the highway code and that they know know all the rules for staying safe on the road? So that there's kind of two sides to that one there. Now I can't remember who Penniless again is, but you're agreeing. Now you're saying you agree with the zoo. Is that you agree that zoos are bad, or you agree with zoos being a thing? You think that zoos are good? What do you reckon? Oh, I'm just. Oh, we've got a sudden topic change here, but we've got Mr. Ramsey here saying about Kierkegaard, which is a brilliant channel, one of my favourite channels, and he's got one about the Fermi paradox, which is basically the Fermi paradox is basically, if there's aliens, how come we're not seeing evidence of them? Where are all the aliens? If you fancy a bit of a thought-provoking video, in fact, any of Kierkegaard's videos on YouTube are just fantastic. He's one of my favourite YouTubers. So go and have a wee look for him. And in fact, I'll try and post the Fermi paradox one up just now if I can. See if I can find it. But let's have a wee look through the chat. Not much more stuff coming up. Anyway, going on to persuasive writing, I'm going to get out my wee package here. I've got something here, which is to do with today's persuasive writing. So today, what you're doing, and I'll explain it in the task, but basically you're coming up with something that you feel passionate about, something that you really care about, and you're coming up with kind of arguments to back up your point. So it could be something about school uniform, whether you think it's a good thing or not, or Greta Thunberg, whether you think she's great or whether you think that she's just really annoying. Could be something about aliens, if you're thinking that there probably is alien life out there somewhere, or not. You could be arguing about that. But basically, you're coming up with points and reasons behind it. You have to watch the video to get it, really. But what I've got, the argument example that I give is that I think, and I genuinely think this, I think we should be eating more insects. I think that eating insects is a good thing. Now, I don't just mean grabbing some ants off the street and stuffing them into your mouth, or picking up the occasional beetle here and there and just chowing down. I don't mean like that, but I do think that there is probably a sensible way of incorporating insects into our day-to-day diet in a sensible way. So yeah, it could be things like frying them up, like Rosalind said. Could be that there's ways of even just mashing them up to make powder and sort of turning it into an insect flour. There's ways of making insect burgers. And so just to prove the point here, and I would have done this in class. This is something I do in class pretty much every year. But what I've bought are some mixed critters, as it's called. So this is a range of different insects. These are edible insects. They've all been freeze-dried. They're completely edible. And this is a sealed pack at the moment. I'm going to open it up. And let's see what we've got in here. Right. Oh, it's weird when they've got eyes. Now I don't like. I've done this before, but I don't like the locusts. So I'm gonna tip some out here. Oh, the locusts are so big, so big. Right. Oh well. It's only locusts that I seem to be able to get right now. Let's start off with something a little bit more modest. I know these guys taste okay. So this here, oh, I've dropped it. This here, I don't know if you can see it. Let me go so that I can see my camera here. You know what? With the green screen, it's going to glitch it out all the time. So you know what? I'm going to turn off the green screen for a moment. Oh, it just means I disappear. Hang on. Give me a wee second, guys. I'm sorry about this. I know I've disappeared from your screen, but I am still here. I need to add a video capture device quick. Hi guys, I have no idea if you can hear me because I'm not even on the chat anymore. But if you could message me on Teams to let me know whether I've gone live again, that would be great. I'm just trying another couple of things in the meantime. I know you can't see my video at the moment, but let me see if I can just add my usual just a thing without the green screen here. Hopefully that'll do. Right, sorry about this, everyone. This was rather unexpected. I'm hoping that I will get back online shortly because this has been a bit of a nightmare, frankly. See if we are able to go live again just now. Maybe, maybe not. It is hard to say. Seeing people are mentioning in the comments. Am I live, guys? Hey, you can see me. Excellent. So it does seem that I am live again. Able to hear me? Yes? No? Maybe? Excellent. Right. I have no idea why that happened. I got the blue screen of death that came up. It just completely glitched out. My whole computer restarted without me even saying so. So, where was I? I was about to chow down. Now, this is largely just for theatrical effect, but it is something that raises an interesting point. I'm just going to try and blow my camera up a wee bit bigger. Oh, except that I've just disappeared, which is a bit annoying. This going to work? One of these must work. Or am I just going to be invisible? Sorry guys, I'm going to try this again. I'm hoping it's not going to... If it turns off my computer again, then I think I might have to cut the live stream short. But hopefully it won't. Right. I'm having to use my backup webcam for this. But here we go. So I'm probably a little bit grainier and a little bit less good quality. So, eating insects. Lots of good arguments for them, which I make clear in my proper persuasive writing thing. But this is a tiny little cricket. It's probably a wee bit out of focus there. But you know what? They taste fine. They really do taste fine. I've got a few of them here. This is the abdomen of one of them. There we go. The ones I don't like are, I don't know, they're just a bit too far from me. They're too big. No, they're just... But, you know, for show, might as well. In terms of their flavour, no, the locusts taste a bit burnt, actually. They've got a weird sort of burnt flavour, which I don't like very much. A little bit bitter. Oh, can you not hear me? Are you guys able to hear me? Am I on mute? Is that what's going on? Let me try plugging this in and out again. Testing, testing, testing. Able to hear me? You can hear me. That's fine. Anyway, the locusts don't taste particularly nice. The wee mealworms are fine. And the wee crickets are fine. But the only thing I don't like about them is they kind of... They're really gritty in your mouth afterwards, so they kind of stay around for a while. But why should we be eating them? Well, I make a few arguments in my in my video on persuasive writing, but there's actually more protein in them than most meat products. There's more vitamins. They're lower in fat. So lots of good health reasons for eating them. But the main thing is environmental. Meat is astonishingly bad for the environment. Really, really bad for the environment, especially things like beef. To grow just a kilogram of beef takes a whole load of land. In fact, a kilogram of beef takes almost as much land as is in the whole field at school. So an astonishing amount of land required just for beef. To grow the same amount of insects takes only a fraction of the water, a tiny amount of water compared for insects compared to beef. And so actually, I think it's probably much more environmentally friendly in a lot of ways. Okay, anyway, enough about that. But that was just a wee thing that I wanted to bring up there. And I think it's an interesting point. Now, today, you have to decide on something else. You know what? I'm grabbing another wee cricket. Hey. You guys have to think of a topic that you care about, something that you're invested in. You're going to do a wee bit of persuasive writing about that. Okay, so that's the plan for you guys. Now, moving on to the final thing. I'm sorry that this has gone on so long, but this is the thing that's supposed to be the main lesson today, actually, and it's a little bit of maths. So you've been looking. Oh, have we frozen? It is saying that I'm starting to freeze a wee bit here, which is a bit annoying. I'm hoping that's not going to be the case. We will see. I think my computer's grinding to a halt a wee bit. Let me close a few windows. Okay, here we go. Hopefully that will have improved it. Hopefully that'll be becoming a little bit better now. Right. So today you're learning a little bit about line graphs. I'm going to do a couple of line graphs for you to actually see. First of all, let's try and get the video on here as well. Let's see if any of these work. No, not happening. Oh well, might just have to be without video for this wee section. Okay, so for a line, in order to draw line graphs, there's a few things that you have to do. The most complicated thing is really to do with scale. You need to be thinking about what scale you're going to use for your line graph. So the first thing that you have to do is choose an appropriate scale for the line graph that you're drawing. Once you've done that, you have to draw axes of appropriate length. So, you've got the vertical axis, the y-axis, and the horizontal axis, the x-axis. You need to draw them for the right length for your scale. Okay? You also need to label each axis. I'm sorry that some of you guys are saying that I'm really quiet. I don't think there's much I can do about that. I'm going to try unplugging my mic and plugging it back in. Yeah, I'm not sure why that's the case. Anyway, let's go back to this here. I don't think there's much I can do about the quietness, guys. I've got everything as best I can. I think it's just with my computer restarting, it's gone a bit wrong. You need to label your axis. You need to mark on the points correctly. You're going to need to join up all of the points using lines, and then you're going to need to have a title for your graph. Let's actually see what that looks like. God, there's insects everywhere. This is madness. Okay, so what we're learning to do is draw a suitable graph that uses a suitable scale. So what we've got here is a graph that is about half done. There's some things that have been done well with it. There's some things that haven't. Now, this is our data. And what this graph is showing, is told to us in the title here. It's the number of flowers in a plant pot over a 12-week period. Okay, so the data that we're going to have to put in is in this table. So we've got week 1, there were no flowers. Week 2, there were no flowers. Week 3, there were 2 flowers. Week 4, there were 3 flowers, so on and so forth. Now we need to put this in the graph, but the problem is our graph is incomplete. We need a scale up here. So my first question to you is, oh, and actually my head is in the way. So I'm going to move my head out the way just now. Let's go, hopefully, over here. So I'm just peeking in at the side there. But to complete this graph, what will need to be on this scale here, and what should it go up in? Should it go up in should it go up in ones? Should it go up in twos? Should it go up in threes, tens, fives, hundreds? What would you say each box should be going up in this graph? What would be your guess? Are we able to hear, guys? Just looking for you guys to tell me. So yes, it's sort of an 11 by 12 graph, but what would we make the sides go up in here, in your opinion? One person saying twos. I'm not sure I would select twos here, because if I do twos, it'll go 0, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18, 20, 20. It would go all the way up to 22. What's the highest number we have? It's only 11. So actually, in this case, I think you'd be just as well going up in ones. So let's do that. We're going to have 0 at the bottom here. And then it's going to go up in ones. So we're going to have 1, we're going to have 2. Oh, slightly the wrong place there. And this might take a wee while, but you get the idea. So it's going to go up one number at a time. Probably a little bit painful to watch this. It's oh, there we go. 7, 8, 9, 10. And for a line graph, all of the numbers, all of the numbers should be on the line markers. That's quite important for a line graph here. Okay, so some of mine are just off the line markers, but they should be right on the line markers. Okay, now this side here is missing something. It's missing a label. Okay, so it's really important that you label all parts of your graph. So this will be its number of flowers. That's what this section of the graph is. I'm going to need to rotate that round so that it's not taking up half the graph. Okay, so what I've got here is I've got a graph. It's got axes of the right size. It's going up in a sensible scale. It's going up in ones. And then I can just plot on the data. Now, to start with, I would plot on the data just with dots. So week 1, we've got 0. Let's do it in a colour that'll stand out. So week 1, 0. Week 2, 0. Week 3, 2. Week 4, 3. Then we have 7. Then we have way down at 4. Then it goes up to 8. And you get the idea. It just goes, what we've got are a whole load of points. And they're jumping around all over the place. It goes all the way up to 11. Then 9. Then all the way down to 3. And then all the way down to 0. Now, to make it a line graph, all we need to do now is basically join up the lines, join up the dots with lines. It really is that simple, and that turns it into a line graph. So we've got here, 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 so on and so forth. But the tricky bit, the bit that's really important for your learning, is figuring out what scale to use. Now, this was quite an easy one, because it was obvious that actually we would just go up in ones. We have 11 slots in our chart, and it only went up as high as 11, so that was fine. Excuse me. But this next bit here, Have I frozen completely? I'm not seeing much chat here. I don't know if that's. I don't know if I've frozen. Hard to tell. Is this working, guys? Question mark. Type in the comments if you can hear me. Oh man, looks like the video is way behind where I am. Hopefully it's still working. Right. Anyway, for this graph here, we see that this is showing temperature over a number of months, but we can see the temperature goes up quite a lot higher. It goes up to 22. Well, I've not got 22 slots on this graph that I've drawn, so what sort of scale might I want to use for this graph? What would be a sensible scale to use on this graph here? And I'm hoping that you're going to be typing answers in the comments, but I think we might have lost some of our sync here. We've maybe skipped part of the lesson because I think YouTube's not taking all of the content I'm uploading. But basically, in this case, we'd be going up probably best in twos. So if I go up here, we'll still start at 0. Often you want to start at 0, not always, but often. But then we're going to go up in 2, so it'll be 2, and then 4, and then 6. Also, I can type a 6. And for some reason the colour's changed, but we'll not worry about that. 10, and so on and so forth. So sometimes your scale needs to go up just in single units. Sometimes you go up in jumps of 2. Sometimes you'll go up in jumps of 5. It really depends on what your data set needs. So one of the first decisions you should be making when drawing a graph is, what is my graph going to go up in? Actually, before even drawing the graph, I'd be thinking, what are my increments going to be? What am I going to jump this up in? So start off by looking at your data and thinking, okay, if I'm wanting to fit this into a sensible size of graph, what am I going to have it going up in? Because if this went up to 10,000, there's no way I want to be doing a graph that is 10,000 boxes high. I'm not going to have a jotter big enough. So instead, I'm going to have to make each box mean a certain number of jumps. Now in this case, what happens if I want to show something that's in the middle of 2 boxes? So I've only got 0 and 2 here, but my first number is 1. Where's that going to go? Well, it's going to go in the middle of the 2 of them. So 1 will belong about there. Then it goes up to 2. Then it goes up to 5. Well, 5 is going to be between 4 and 6, so it's going to be halfway. April is 9 degrees. Well, that's going to be between 8 and 9. So you should be seeing how this works approximately. 14, and then 17, and then up to 20, then up to 22, and then it starts to get quite a lot colder, down to 13, which is halfway between 12 and 14, down to 8, down to 3, oops, 3 would be about there, and then down to 2. And lastly, I just join the dots. So that is quite simply how to put a line graph together. Now there's still things that are missing in this one. For instance, it hasn't got a title, and it needs a title. It hasn't got the axes labelled, and it needs the axes labelled. So for it to be a proper line graph, it really needs to meet all of the success criteria. So I would need to slap in a title. So this is temperatures in Edinburgh over 1 year. And then I would put at the bottom a label for this axis, which is months, and a label for this axis, temperature, and that's in Celsius. And now, and only now, do we have a decent quality graph. So that is how it should look. So it needs to have a sensible scale, it needs to have the axes labelled, and it needs to have a title. And there should be straight lines between each of the points. We don't do curvy lines, we try to do straight lines. Okay? Right, guys. This has been a monster of a live stream. I'm going to sign off just now, but first I'm going to eat another little insect. Because why not? Oh, I dropped it. Almost like it's still alive. Anyway, guys, all the best. Take care of yourselves. And yeah, I'm going to tune out for now. But see you guys soon. All the best.